once I explain that to clients, it's like, we're not spending that amount, but I want you to understand, you meaning the customer, how quickly we can go through the investment that you're actually making and to prepare them. So when I'm creating that initial investment summary, it's like there's a lot of caveats, which is why I always start with the design.
Good day, everybody. Chris G here, Hard Hat CEO. And boy, we're going to talk about some good stuff today. And I got a friend all the way from Denver, Erica Kalkofen, and she's going to talk about a little bit about design and how we're going to use that as contractors to either make money or help our clients make money, or even better yet, let them live in a very special place. Please welcome here, Erica. Erica, how are you doing today?
Hey, thank you so much, Chris, for having me on. I am so honored to be part of your discussion group, and hopefully we can give people, both consumers and contractors, a way to think about interior design and what I call remodeling design a little bit different.
Nice. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Absolutely. So my name is Erica Kalkofen. I own and operate EK Kitchens and Design, and we depends upon the day. I'm just saying. Focus on kitchen remodels, bathroom remodels, and where we really shine is in the whole house remodeling. So, for instance, I just finished a 4,500 square foot complete gut and redo from HVAC all the way up, including materials and design and the GC work. And I'm now in Denver, and I have lived in the Grand County, Winter Park, Colorado area. So for any ski aficionados out there, that was my hometown for about 18 years.
Well, when I got started back in 2001 into flipping houses, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And, his biggest thing is, and he's absolutely right, is that the real process of making money is in the buy.
Yeah.
So when you go in and evaluate a property, whether it's for yourself or you're helping somebody decide if they're going to buy it for even to live in, because I'm always thinking resale value. How do you assess the value of the property at the point where it's at compared to where it needs to be when it's done?
That is a great question, because you're absolutely right. And I think Robert Kiyosaki is absolutely right. You only make money on the buy, right?
Yeah.
And so the first thing is to evaluate the neighborhood, right? What are current homes selling for? What is the opportunity to purchase the property that you're looking at, either at a discounted rate or at what they're asking. But if what they're asking is so different than the rest of the neighborhood, then you've already got some built-in leeway or leverage with what you choose to do with the remodel. So for instance, this house I was just talking about, they purchased at just over $1 million. We put just over $1 million into it, but the neighbors' houses were easily selling for $3 million, right? So that's how I would look at that. Also, what needs to be done to the house, right? So if you buy a house and it just needs carpet and paint and appliances, that's one thing. If you need completely new furnace and a new roof and new windows and new doors, well then, as most of your listeners know, that buy price needs to be a little bit less.
But I always talk about, and I finally got my agent to understand, I want to know what it's worth when I'm done. Not what it's worth right now. That doesn't matter to me. What do you want to offer? That is not, I can't even tell you that yet. I need to know what's it worth when it's fixed up. And if it's not worth anything fixed up, or at least what I think it should be, then I'm going to calculate my price on what I'm going to pay for it, because I got some other expenses in between.
What I can tell you, Chris, is, I am a licensed realtor in Colorado, and that question comes up a lot, not only from my buyers, but also from my remodel clients. How do I know what it's worth, right? And that's actually one of the reasons why I chose to get my real estate license, is because that cost versus value, which, yes, there's a report and yes, it's a guideline, but really understanding the nuance of a deep dive into the neighborhood statistics in order to understand what that after repair value is actually going to be. That's where that sweet spot comes in.
I know I was going to tell you. I love, and I got into. I worked for our Foundation Recovery Systems, which is a foundation company, and I joined it so I could learn how to evaluate houses and what it's going to cost to fix the foundation. Foundations are one of my favorite because banks won't give a loan on them, and they're usually out there, nobody wants them, and it's a big expense to fix them up. And you can usually get them pretty good down the line. Obviously, there's a fine line of that's why it's important to know what's going to cost you versus just tearing it down. But those type of things I just loved. Now I'm guessing Denver has a lot of bigger homes, but when I got started, I liked the smaller homes too that they had a forced air unit, but they didn't have any AC. It didn't have the air conditioning side. So it was cheaper you just bump the price up just by adding the AC unit, didn't have the expense of the ductwork, and voila, more money right there.
Right there. It's so interesting. Over the years, I have definitely seen, so when you live at 9,000 feet above sea level, you
Right.
typically don't need air conditioning, right? And I would say over the past 5 years, I've seen more new builds that automatically put air conditioning in because of the air quality when there's natural disasters and things like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So you
and
kind of filter the air too, type thing. Yeah.
exactly, and doing like whole home filters and things like that. Now down here in the city, and I say down here, we're still a mile above sea level, right?
Right.
I pretty much most of the homes are going to have air conditioning. Some of that sweet spot again is going to be in the older homes, the 1950s Rambler that has the original exterior and just needs some love, right?
Sure. It's easier to sell to investors because they can kind of see the project. More, it's harder sometimes to sell to the person's going to live in it,
Mhm.
or for a new construction home, the person that's going to live in it and really don't have anything to look at other than a drawing. So how do you kind of sell the vision or get somebody, it's like show them where they can make some changes that not only help the resale value, because sometimes I do talk about resale value to people even buying new houses. Some of them don't care because this is their forever home. They're
Mhm.
retired, that type of thing. Well, let my kids deal with that. That's fair. But how do you kind of proceed with a process of design almost?
Yeah, so there's two answers to that. And we'll talk about my 6-step design process in just a second, which really speaks to more of the resale market. But I
Yeah.
recently worked with a buyer in helping them purchase a new construction home. And it was really, really fun because we were able to get in at framing right at window installation. So we could look at the floor plan, we could assess how is this actually going to work for the buyer. And what one of our major conversation was is what is that resale? How are people going to use it following them? How are their kids going to use it? How, like, it was more of that generational usage
Hmm.
that we really spoke to, and it turned out fantastic. The buyers love it, and the GC really knocked it out of the park. On the resale side, what I have found to help people through all the decisions, oh my gosh, what are we doing? Right? Is my signature 6-step design process, right? We start with
Hmm.
the consultation, we move into the scope of work. And that's not just like what I'm doing, but it's what all that needs to happen so that everybody's on the same page. We then evaluate the space, we measure it, we put it into the CAD system, we start playing with ideas because at the end of the day, all we do is play. It just is bigger stuff, right?
Right.
And then we move into the material selection, really understanding where is that client's investment, which is the next step, and working that budget two ways. Ideally, what do you want, and from what is the investment that you want to spend on down. And then we get to the fun part, which is the fulfillment, where we get to order the products and get them to the job site and do all the things that make a difference. So
I tell them go shopping. That's a lot of fun. That's the well, that's what the wives like. You should go shopping at this point. Um, well,
Yeah, when I always love it when people are like, "Are you sure I need a remodeling designer?" I was like, "Tell you what, you go to the tile warehouse, 50,000, 150,000 square feet. You come back and let me know how that experience was, and then I'll take you shopping, and we'll get right to what we need to get, where it is, how it is, and we'll talk to everybody along the way."
so this year I'm my construction business. We're focused on the client experience, and we primarily do. I love remodeling my own stuff, not necessarily somebody else's. So I'm all about the new construction build. And so we do a very similar process where we actually answer all those questions in advance, because a lot of people, at least a lot of my clients, are budget. Not budget. Budget's important, but I mean they're worried about the overruns. They hear all these horror stories, and so we don't want these horror stories. We want to get those all in the open, get them straight, and get you making decisions. And one of the things we do offer is I'm not the interior designer. We do have a shout out to Tracy. Tracy does some, I won't say side work, but she's part of my package that if clients want help designing, and they can come in and from colors to all the way up to, if you want to go shopping with them, go pick out something. Because I need to have an idea what you're in the ballpark, so I can give you a good price for your house. And that way the banks love it, and there's no losing sleep at night. And I love giving allowances. It's like, all right, here's your gift card. Go to the store, and if you go to the store and you spend more than that money, it's got to come out of your pocket.
Right.
And if you don't spend as much, you get some money back or put it towards something else. It's kind of like fun. So that's how we kind of do it. And it's very similar to what you're talking about. It doesn't matter necessarily if it's new construction or even the home remodel. It's the same concept of what we're going to do, what we're going to spend, what we're going to put in there. And in some cases, the GEC's got to figure out what it's going to cost to put it in. It's like, hey, that's a good point. It's like, I love it when somebody said, what can you do? If I can do anything for money, but it's just, what do you want to spend?
It's all time and money. Like,
whatever you want.
Like whether I put in a crystal bathtub or a 3-corner alcove acrylic tub, doesn't matter at the end of the day. It's just, what do you want to pay for? How do you want it to be done? And figure out the process from there. From the years that I've been a general contractor and project manager, it really has helped my design skills escalate, because it's like, hey, that tile you got? Yeah, we're having problems. And I'm like, oh, I'll be right there. Let's take a look at that. and figuring out, the solution. For instance, I had some clients choose some really large 8-inch hex, beautiful tile, right, for the shower floor. Well, what happens in a shower? You need to slope it. Where was the drain? Oh, it was centered. So we can't do envelope cuts with that 8-inch hex tile. So we ended up having to tear it all out, put in a linear drain on one end, and then re-slope it. But it was like, I don't know. It was just such a great experience for everything. Yeah.
Well, you're right, because when somebody's out there shopping and they're not doing it themselves, they're just, you told them to go out there shopping, and it's like, give me some tile. It's like, okay, well, it's a perfect example. And the shower is a perfect example, as far as there's a limited space to work in.
Yeah.
It's not like a kitchen floor or something where you got a mess. You can got a little flexibility there. 3 foot, usually by 7 by 8. A custom shower, there's not a lot to work with there. So you got to make sure it's functional and obviously looks beautiful as well.
Yes. It turned out amazing, and they were so happy with the result. And it's interesting that you said your firm works more on new construction and you try and stay away from remodeling. My firm is almost the opposite, where we prefer the remodeling because, one, there's so much life left in homes that are in that, 15, 20, 25, 40-year-old category. And I really also believe that in the tenant, love your home, love your life. So if you buy a house because it's what you want in the neighborhood you want, there's no reason why you shouldn't love your home so that you can go out and do the best work that you've been called to do. And I don't care what that work is,
Well, I do like remodels as far as my own and flipping them. And that part I enjoy a lot.
Very.
The reason, as far as a business point, from my point, and I know guys that do remodels and they do great jobs and they make some good money. What I don't like about it is I don't know what somebody else did before I got there.
Yeah.
It's a
Right.
surprises. And
Mhm.
as a home flipper, I expect that, and I kind of build that into my when I purchase the property. These people are going to live in their house, and you don't know how to. There's a lot of, well, here's what I'm going to estimate, and oh, by the way, there could be more expenses once we get into it, and that's the
Mhm.
part I don't like, because that's just me having to deal with that. I like get in, get out type thing. Now, there are people out there like yourself that are very good at that, and I don't have the patience for it. So I just, I'm being honest. I'd rather see it, and go from there.
Yeah.
So,
No, I totally get it. I have ADHD, so it is, as most of the subs in our industry do,
right.
right? And so it actually becomes really interesting. And I also work with a very collaborative nature. Here's the vision for this particular room or house or whatever. Here's the materials we selected. Now, I think we can do this, but let's work together to figure out the solution. And, a lot of times or a wall and you're like, look at that, we can't actually move
Yeah.
plastic, and how do you figure things out and, pivot and turn and adapt that particular design in order to make it look fantastic. I'm thinking of a wall we opened up one time, and it had everything in this wall that we didn't expect. And we ended up wrapping the entire wall in cabinetry to make it actually look like an end pilaster or a pillar that matched the cabinetry, and it turned out amazing. So
I've got, before I lead into this other question, I love looking the creativity of trying to find a place to put a bathroom in an existing house and how it can be functional. It automatically raises the value, in my opinion, because the more bathrooms you have, it's perceived as more value, and it
mhm.
is. And how you can get creative and say, well, I can make this closet into a bathroom. Well, how you can do that? Well, then, like you said, you got to get in there and figure out the plumbing and make sure somebody did it the way you think it should have been done, and then go that route. But those are fun. But that being said, my question is, is there things that you can do that you almost lose money or you don't raise the value of the property?
Yeah, that is such an interesting spin on the normal question I
Sorry.
get. How to increase the value, right?
Right.
I would say, okay, so as a flipper,
Yep.
if you over personalize the design, you're going to lose money, right?
Oh, that's a
If
good one.
you
Yeah.
go into the tile store and you're like, "Oh my God, that's so fantastic." You should probably move into that house, because not everybody is going to think that. Choosing colors that people are in the future are going to have to invest time and money into covering is a loss on your investment, right?
I
Uh,
used to tell my business partner, and I hope he's listening today, Big Dave. Big Dave, he'd say, this would be, I said, David, you're not going to live here. We got to remember that.
yeah.
This is not your house. Now, that's different for a flipper versus a person who is going to live there, and you're helping them kind of make decisions. And I like to make suggestions, like you said, about, this is an investment, whether you perceive it that way or not, but it's important for them to at least knowingly make that decision. So,
Mhm. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I've seen remodels, quote remodels, where they're like, "Oh, we did all this really cool stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just going to tear it out like when you move out." So yeah, I think there's a point where, or not a point. I think every remodel and flip deserves that conversation. Are you going to live there? what is the best investment to bring the value of that particular home up, and actually hiring a pro like yourself or myself for even an hour, 90 minutes, 2 hours to go through the house and say, yeah, you should buy this or invest in it, or it's going to take a little bit of love, you know?
I had another business partner. I've had a lot of business partners over the years. And what we decided was, and he understood where I was coming from, is it going to change the price of the house? Are we going to sell it for more? Yes or no? And if we weren't going to sell it for more with this tile versus that tile, or you had to have a tile, you just had to decide how much you want to spend on the tile. If it's not going to change the price, then there's no reason to get the more expensive stuff. Now, there's a reason not to get the cheap stuff either. And I'm not that way. I always like the middle of the road as far as materials go.
Yeah.
Now, you did mention in our earlier, before we got started recording, you mentioned that you have a way of trying to figure out what the costs are, either for, I guess, a flip, or even, I guess, even, not you personally, but you have like a worksheet you go through.
Yes.
That's what I meant. There's a worksheet you go through, and I'm sure as contractors, we have worksheets you go through with the clients too. If you do it now, I was taught back in the day, we used to, Ron LeGrand, I don't know who he is, but we used to do it by the square foot. You go in and say, okay, here's a quick way of looking at it. Is it A, B, or C as far as difficulty? And then you pick the price and you go from there. And no matter what, it is always $20,000 at a minimum. I was always investing $20,000. It did not matter what the house was, you're going to spend 20.
Yeah.
And sometimes more, but don't even expect any less.
Well, I totally understand that. And so because clients are always going to ask, what is the price?
Sure.
Flippers are always going to ask, what is the price? Right.
Yep.
And so there's a two-pronged approach. And yes, I do have a materials, investment worksheet where we're like, is it included? Do we have a quote on it? Can we get a quote on it? What is the quoted price? What's the actual price, et cetera, et cetera. And I just track that in Excel because I'm kind of old school that way. I'm just saying.
Sure.
But it really also goes to, okay, in my experience, in the areas where I've worked most, if you take, let's say, $100,000 investment, and we know most flippers are not going to put that in there, but let's just use that as our example. Half of that is going to go to labor. Half of it is going to go to materials ish. Might be 60.
That's a fair, but
right?
Yep.
So now you're taking $50,000 in materials. Where do you want to invest that? Oh, you want a new kitchen? Is it new cabinets? There's 10 grand. New appliances? There's 5 grand. Countertops? There's another 5 grand. Flooring? Well, shoot, that's a whole range of where to go, right? Everything from peel and stick all the way up to beautiful, like 3/4 hardwood. And then it's carpeting, and then it's paint, and then it's hardware, like cabinet hardware and things like that. Then you have plumbing. Plumbing for an entire house could easily be $25,000, right?
Oh, easy, yeah.
And so once I explain that to clients, it's like, we're not spending that amount, but I want you to understand, you meaning the customer, how quickly we can go through the investment that you're actually making and to prepare them. So when I'm creating that initial investment summary, it's like there's a lot of caveats, which is why I always start with the design. What is that final design of that kitchen, that bathroom, that whole house going to look like? Because we can get there in any number of ways with any number of materials. But if we don't know the goal or the vision, then I can't choose the materials before I know where I'm going to go.
The only way to really get there is ask questions, right?
You got it. You got it.
More communication. And communication is not important in business. It's also important in sales. And more importantly, I guess, talking about communication is listening and figuring out what they really want. And sometimes when I have clients that, they have a budget, and sometimes I don't know their budget. They just know they got a ballpark. I'm like, okay. And we talk about what they want. I said, well, let me quote it, see where we're at. And, we can always take away. And this is not a commitment because we haven't started anything. We're just trying to figure out based on what you want.
Right.
And there's some things, you know, I said the other day, somebody, we come in like 30,000 more than they wanted, that the bank wanted to, well, it wasn't even the bank, is that they wanted a payment a certain amount. Like, okay. So I said, well, what can I change and what I can't change? What do you have to have in your house that Chris cannot touch?
Mhm.
Is it your kitchen? Is it your shower or whatever it is? And those
Yeah.
things you find out and go forward with that. So it's kind of like taking that dream and getting it where everybody's happy at the end of the day.
Yes, yes, I totally agree. A lot of it is really sluicing through, what is absolutely key. One of the tools that we haven't even talked about right now is during that initial consultation, I actually have a leave behind worksheet for people to put up on the fridge, and it's called the What Do I Love worksheet. And there's a column, and you do it per room. And this is typically, again, for a remodel situation.
Sure.
What do you love? Even if there's only 2 things on there, what do you love? And then what do you want to change? And that's usually the biggest column. But then at the end, it says, how do I want to feel in this room when I'm done? Which is what you were alluding to as well, is what are the non-negotiables, right?
Right.
And what emotion do I want to convey or feel when this whole project is completed in this particular room? And with that in mind, then we get to work.
That is, you give me an idea for marketing, because that's a perfect, like a lead magnet where, whether it be remodel or even new construction, people are living in a house now.
Yeah.
They're dreaming of a new house or a updated house.
Mhm.
And what do you like about your current house you're living in? And what do you want to change with the new one?
Absolutely.
Or even forget the remodel part. If they're just going to move or buy a new house that's already constructed, there's things that you want to know that you've got to have in this new house that, somebody else wants. The trash cans in the cabinets or in the drawers. I got to have a trash can in my drawer. Okay. I hate going over there and putting it in the closet. More power to you. I don't care. If that's what you want, that's what you're going to get. Now, I'm going to actually, before I go into one more, I want to change gears, but I want to ask about, do you use AI at all for remodeling?
I have started playing with AI for just in general, like what can it do and where we're at. And what I find AI really good for is like that initial hit of inspiration boards, having clients actually plug their room in and saying, hey, what can we do? And going, oh, I really like that. How do we do that? Because as cool as AI is, it's still not in the field doing what you and I do, right? No. So yeah, a little bit. I think it's really interesting. I think there's a long way to go, and I don't think it actually replaces that human interaction or the knowledge that we collectively have gained over the millions of years we've been doing remodeling.
So what we use it for, and we're dialing it in, because we guarantee our pricing on the contract. So it's a one price. Here you go, guaranteed, turnkey, walk in. But you got the people that say, well, what's it going to cost me? What's it going to cost me? Or how much, what kind of budget do I have? And is it going to fit my budget? So what we're using it for is to input information or even plans to get the budget number, not the plan itself.
Right.
Okay. So if 4,000 square feet living space is more than you want to spend, we ask it to say, okay, the same floor plan, if it was 3,000 square feet, what would it be? And we get down to that budget number. So I had an idea where to kind of lead my project, my actually designers that we have in house, the CAD designers, of how to lay that floor plan out and get a ballpark where price wise where we're at. And then once everybody agrees on that part, then we can go in and give them a firm price on take to the bank.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
It's fast. It's faster than me having to go out and bug all my subs and so forth. So anyway, last question. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. You have a strategic business degree, right? As far as some training and so forth. So how can we make the design, interior design, the thought process, kind of a unique selling proposition for our companies?
Oh gosh, that is such an interesting side. So, so many people think, oh, construction firm, we're gonna just build stuff and we're gonna whatever. But how am I gonna live in the house, right? It's
Yeah.
it's it's the front end, softer, welcoming. Let's create a space that you actually love, and then marry that with the construction firm. I firmly believe, and I'm biased, of course, but it is a value add to a construction firm to have a dedicated person that a client can call regarding all aspects of the construction process, so that clients feel engaged and they're not overwhelmed. One thing I always like to say is that I'm the translator between the
Yeah,
client and the contractor, right? Or the
sure.
sub. And I can talk the technical speak, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I talk the client speak and help them understand what's going on. And that is just such, personally for me, a value add. Even if you include a couple hours on the front end with a designer that you partner with or have in house, I just don't think you can go wrong with that type of partnership.
Kind of like being the liaison between the two is perfect. Last thing to make a comment about was, using the technology, and we're focused on the customer experience this year, or client experience, I like to say. So pictures and the client portals through your software, if you can upload pictures, people love pictures. They
Mhm.
can see something. It's a way to communicate, and you can actually save yourself a lot of calls if people are already seen it, what your plan is in the future, because people just want to know when or why.
Yeah.
And if you can answer those two questions, for most people, you're going to cut your communication down, or improve your communication, but cut the questions down so you be more profitable in your business. So,
Mhm.
all right,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Erica, it was great having you on here. What would be the best way to get hold of you if they wanted to chat?
Oh, I welcome all sorts of conversations, because you never know where a conversation is going to go, right? But the best way to find me is at getyourhometoday.com.
All right, we'll put that in the show notes below. Obviously, if you guys love this show, please hit like and all that good stuff, subscribe, notification button, all that good stuff we talk about. This is Chris G with Erica today, and God be with you till we meet again. Bye-bye.